それではお時間となりました
Now
の
it's
で、
time
これ
to
より
start.
エレメント
From
AI
now on,
共同創業者
we're
兼
going to start the
最高
next
科学責
session. The
任者
speaker is Mr. Nicola Achaparo, one of the co-founders and chief science officer of Element AI. The session is titled AI from Research to Impact Rebuilding After COVID-19. Over to you, Mr. Chaparo.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to this session on how to take artificial intelligence from research experimentations to having impact in the real world. My name is Nicholas Chapados, and I'm the Chief Science Officer and co-founder at Element AI. So Element AI is delighted to be speaking to you today in Japan at the AI Summit. We are really sorry that the global pandemic situation has prevented us to travel to meet you in person this year, but we will be still excited to share with you these thoughts today on taking AI and making it a success in the real world. First, a few facts about Element AI. So we were founded just 4 years ago by J.F. Gagne, who is a serial entrepreneur, as well as Yoshua Bengio, whom some of you may know as the co-father of the field of deep learning. We have grown to count about 315 employees across a number of different countries, including our headquarters in Montreal, Canada, as well as Toronto, London, Singapore, and Seoul. And we implement AI across a number of different industries, ranging from government, manufacturing, supply chain, retail, insurance, capital markets, banking, and pharma. And before going to the bulk of the presentation, I would like to share with you a quick video explaining who we are.
We see the future of work differently because we see it collaboratively, reinventing how humans and machines work smarter together to achieve what was once impossible. How? We start small, really small. In our research-rich DNA, our in-house research lab deep dives to uncover big solutions, a building block at a time. And these blocks are the keys to cracking product breakthroughs. We test, build, and develop them, challenging what's possible. Once a technology proves effective, our team builds a totally unique and scalable AI product. Contextualized in a multitude of industries, our products redefine the way industries operate and how we operate them. Because we're all about AI made accessible and AI made quickly available. We build AI that scales and AI that you can trust to solve problems fairly. So when we see the future of work, we see it like this.
So this year, Element AI published the 2020 edition of its Global AI Talent Report. And we find that Japan is in a unique position with both the national agenda and private industry pushing for significant investment into AI-related technologies. Especially with its recently launched Society 5.0 roadmap, we believe that the Japanese AI market is primed for significant expansion. And in the Global Talent Report, Japan stands out with its relatively high ratio of machine learning engineers, those special kinds of people that have the expertise to build novel AI solutions. And also, Japan has an above average talent pool growth of 160%. So all of this leads us to the need to reassess what AI needs today. It is true that a lot of the communication and media about AI promised a magic solution. What we see, though, in recent months are that expectations are becoming more realistic. The hype is flattening, while at the same time, the perceived risks of adoption are growing. And what the many things that the pandemic has illuminated and made clear, it is in particular that AI will not be a silver bullet to solve all of the world's ills. That does not mean, however, that we should wait and ignore the big and real potential of AI-enabled technology solutions to accelerate the recovery, from the role that AI can play in accelerating drug discovery, or the role that AI is already playing in enabling global supply chains to realign and reconfigure themselves. What I'm here to talk about, though, is what we have learned in the past few years about making the cutting edge advancements in the lab work in the real world at scale, so that companies can be better prepared to face global challenges and build what they need to keep momentum going. One of the most important things to remember is that AI is just software. It is a digital machine that we build to accomplish a specific task. For sure, AI is an acceleration of traditional software. It generates new types of capabilities, and it can be used to generate a lot of amazing things. But at its core, AI also requires a great deal of human input and engineering to make it work in real world at scale. And the approaches that we take to develop algorithms, collect data, design products around AI, and deploy them in the real world all have a huge impact on the final outcome. So yes, AI technology is generating new possibilities for software, but this also means new ways of operating for organizations and new risks. So this is not an autonomous technology marching forward on its own accord. These are outcomes and risks that we control. And of course, all of this is hard work. Only a handful of organizations have figured out how to wield it effectively across their businesses, not to mention spin up a solution quickly, which is why we didn't see AI taking a huge role in the pandemic so far. But there are examples that are making a difference, such as a Canadian company called Blue Dot that used AI in late 2019 to predict that CoV SARS-2 would be an important vector of a possible upcoming global pandemic. In fact, Blue Dot was the first to predict the global impact of this virus. This required a huge amount of data, yet human curation and analysis were also as necessary as the AI system to make it happen. And now let's take a step back and look at why there are so many challenges to making AI work. In theory, the process to build AI systems seems straightforward and linear. We start, as usual, by identifying business needs, and then we go on planning, experimenting, and deploying those solutions and the built AI models in the real world. And each of those steps has very, very clear sub-steps and sub-activities. In practice, however, the process is much, much more iterative, and it's very, very hard. Without the proper tools, the process is complex and time-consuming. We find that AI teams end up spending enormous amounts of time on technical challenges that they don't necessarily have the expertise to do. Some examples of the non-AI work is building tools to make your work easier and faster to do. What we found is that AI talent often end up spending about 1/3 of their time on non-AI work, and another third of their time on data cleaning, curation, and preparation. And that leaves only the last third of their time for the actual AI modeling work. In fact, one company we spoke with estimated that amount to be between 30 and 40%. And this is really a problem in a world where AI talent is as scarce as it is. There is a second set of challenges that is about the maintenance of the deployed AI models. First, the AI tooling ecosystem is very, very fluid and changes quickly. And it's important to be able to integrate with new tools in the market as they evolve and appear. Also, the governance, legal, and ethical aspects of AI are changing constantly, and you need to change your modeling and deployment practices to make sure that they keep up with this changing regulatory and governance landscape over time. Perhaps the biggest challenges of all is that of operationalization. And there are three root causes to most operationalization challenges. The first one is that there is an isolation between AI labs and the business units. In fact, a recent study has estimated that only about 1 in 10 pilots make their way into production. So this means that there is a very non-functional iteration loop between AI experts and the business units that could most benefit from the models. The second challenge is that most AI solutions are built as one-off without the proper tooling and infrastructure to industrialize the process. And the third challenge is that there is a big difficulty in assessing the return on investment to artificial intelligence project. In fact, we have noted that there is a lot of work that is put into first creating the model, but not enough effort put into the final oversight and governance after the model is deployed. So these conditions are very, very important to be able to answer questions about what to do when the data or business condition changes. And this lack of governance can severely disrupt the performance of the model and present probably just as many challenges as the original deployment of the AI model. So what to do about all these things? The first one is the AI, the enablement towards AI, in our view, relies on three distinct pillars. The first one is that organizations should build a state-of-the-art AI muscle to be able to quickly absorb the range of developments and breakthroughs that happens in the science of AI, but also gain access to the best tools, best practices, and cutting-edge research that is required to drive impact with AI. The second is to make sure that we foster a very impactful collaboration between the business units and the innovation teams so that there can be quick iteration and a consistent and cohesive methodology to evaluate the return on investment through model performance and other business key performance indicators. And finally, there has to be a consideration towards future-proofing the investment. So from the model themselves, they should be embedded within reproducible and secure workflows that are standardized and embedded through a governance framework that provides the oversight to make sure that there is no drift, or that whenever there is a drift in the operating conditions through changes in data distributions, for example, we can trigger a coherent retraining of the model as well as an evolution of its architecture if it's needed. So how does this all come together into what Element AI does? So in order to help customers get more value from artificial intelligence research and implementation, we at Element AI are developing specific solutions that address high-value use cases and problem areas. So in all of this work and all the solutions that we bring to market, we seek to combine state-of-the-art AI models alongside with powerful features that optimize the usability, performance, and governance of those models. One example that we see on the slide here is the work that we do around visual anomaly detection. And this solution is to automate the visual inspection process in manufacturing environments that in a way that uses cutting-edge unsupervised models that benefit from the latest advances in machine learning. In particular, we rely on low data training that requires very, very few training examples to pick up known and unknown anomalies. We also have a human in the loop continuous learning process that incorporates feedback from human inspectors in order to improve model performance on a continuing basis. And we also have explainability features that can convey in a concise and understandable way why the model thought a given defect on a part was classified as being anomalous. And this improves classification performance over time and also improves operational effectiveness as well. And in this spirit, we are delighted to share with you today our first Japanese customer, AISUM2020, that has collaborated with us to deploy cutting-edge AI explainability features into their existing visual inspection system. This collaboration has resulted in increased trust from business stakeholders in their AI solution and has demonstrated the potential of human-machine collaboration, where human expertise are combined with AI-driven automation to increase efficiency and trust for high-value AI use cases. So why is Element AI coming to the Japanese market today? We are supporting and executing many projects all over the world, but in recent months, we have seen an increasing number of inquiries coming from Japan. And the ongoing project with our customer, AISUM2020, is one example and perfectly demonstrates the opportunity for Japan to be a leader in applied AI. And therefore, we have made a decision to invest in and expand our business in Japan. And we have appointed our first local representative to lead the growth of the market. We are looking forward to discussing and exploring AI-centered digital transformation with AI innovators in Japan. We are also actively looking for business and technology partners to support our Japanese customers together. And please reach out to us and let us bring the best that AI can offer as we rebuild together after the pandemic. So in closing, it is natural for companies to want to implement AI without any risk. Companies will often think that they can push all the risks of a model not working onto a vendor, or a company would undercut their AI effort by requiring them to fit within a rigid risk model that was designed before AI was even on the radar. But as we have seen, AI is just software. So it is part of a journey that most of us are already on. However, AI is still a very immature field, so there is no one-size-fits-all solution. The most effective uses of AI create differentiation only for companies that are willing to learn from both their successes and their failure. And moreover, this attitude will help companies think ahead to account for and integrate what are the emerging best-in-class tools. So a company that does not effectively balance the risk in AI will ultimately increase the risk that it is going to be disrupted by being unable to react to a competitor's differentiated and strategic use of AI and the market shifts that result from this adoption of AI in a given industry. And this may create a much bigger risk than the one avoided. However, this risk is just easily mitigated through an ongoing commitment to adapting and innovating with this technology, as businesses already have been doing with software for many years. In closing, we will be delighted to discuss with you our thoughts and experience on how to best operationalize AI and take advantage of the latest breakthroughs and bringing them to impact in production. On this note, I wish you a great end of AI Summit, and I thank you for your attention today.
シャパド様、どうもありがとうござい
Thank you
まし
very
た。
much, Mr. Chaparro.